Okay, shop project of the week. I've been getting the molds out of my burnout kiln by hand. And it's the weak link in my one-man shop. It's very hot, it's very uncomfortable, and I don't want to do it anymore. So I built the furnace with a slide-out tray so that I can pull the molds out. But when the furnace gets hot, the tray distorts and it gets stuck every time. In addition to that, some of my molds are taller than my door opening. Poor planning on my part, so they won't come out. They have to be lifted internally. So up until this point, I've been putting on a bunch of apparel, face shield, hat, everything, getting in here and grabbing them, but it's too hot. My face shield melts, it's scary. So what I'm gonna do is build a set of tongs that I can reach in and grab the molds and bring them out and put them on my little roll around table where I roll them to the sand pit. So I made a quickie mock-up out of wood. Now, these things are going to be heavy and I'm not going to be able to hold it by hand. So the fulcrum needs to be out past the front of the oven, and I either need to teeter-totter it on some sort of roll around stand so I can carry the weight with the stand, or I need to hang it from the ceiling where I can trolley it back and turn and lay the molds onto my little roll around cart where I move them to the sand bed. So two projects here. One, to make some sort of support. I'm kind of leaning toward the overhead. And two is to make the tongs that will reach in and grab the molds. They're real long, so I'm thinking I'm going to have to use a hollow tube with solid stock. They'll just be too heavy. I think I need some sort of adjustable jaws because the molds are not uniform. They're all different shapes and sizes. I think these will do a pretty good job of grabbing whatever shape it is. And they're going to have to rotate, which means this part here with the fulcrum really needs to be straight so I can put some sort of pivot joint. So I'm going to start today on fabricating something, and I'll keep track. Okay, several hours later, I've got my unistrut mounted to the ceiling. Made some simple little brackets with angle iron, U-bolts, and it is ready for the trolley. Very strong. It's way, way, way higher than it needs to be, but it's on the ceiling and it's out the way. So my trolley is in, ordered from Master Car. It's a simple little trolley just with a single axle. And I put a little shackle on it, and I bent a piece of 1/2 inch stock. I could have used chain, but I had the stock and I thought it might be a little less whippy without a long piece of chain. So I'm going to go up to the ceiling and hang this from the unistrut. It's already installed. All right, so I'm sitting up on the ceiling and I have the trolley installed. Ow, hot! But it hits the bolt head from the hanger, so I'm gonna have to take those out and see what I can do about that. All right, I'm still up here on the framing, and I've changed the bolt head. So now we're working. So I'm gonna have to go down and change the other two. To this point, when I would unload my burnout kiln, I would have to reach in and grab the molds, and I put them on this little table, roll them around and put it in a sand pit. Once they're on the table, everything's good. But I don't like getting in there, I don't have the proper tire, and I don't want to do it anymore. So that's why I built this little deal. Now I've got the trolley complete. It has 9 feet of travel. I really only need maybe a foot, but that's how long a unistrut I had, so I used the whole thing. Put a bar hanging down here. The pivot point's really here, but I didn't want this to be in the way, this last little bit. So this is permanent, and the last little bit I can take off and put back on, and I'll do that now. All right, these are my tongs. Just basically a giant pair of pliers. The welds aren't that pretty, but that's just the way I weld. I fasten it with a ring. It makes it very flexible. I can move it any kind of way I want. The ring can't fall off, so that works well. And then in practice, this is what I'm hoping will work. I will reach into the hot oven. I'll grab a mold. I'll set them on the table. And I'll proceed to move around and put them in the sand pit. So I'm happy so far. Time will tell whether it works.